So here we go. Okay, I'm Mr. Marshall, and this morning we're going to learn about the types of fires and methods of control. Okay. Let's say I'm a masonry. I'm a bricklayer, and I need to lay the bricks on a house. So I need to pick up a load of bricks and haul them to the job site to do the job. What kind of vehicle am I going to use?
Flatbed.
A truck. Yeah, I'm probably going to use a truck. I'm not going to use something like the smart car over here, because if I try to load it down with bricks, it's probably not going to make it.
Small part.
Hey, what if I'm trying to make it to Houston as fast as I can? You know, I don't want to spend a lot of money on fuel. What kind of vehicle am I going to use?
Smart car.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go to the smart car. Just picture down here, like, what if I'm trying to haul this huge dump truck? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to use some big trucks. And then over here on the right, I have a little MRAP here. Like, if I'm going to drive in Afghanistan or Iraq or in a war zone, like, what kind of vehicle am I going to use? A heavily armored one, right? I'm not going to take a smart car. I'm not going to drive this bad boy here, because I'm going to roll over mine or something. I'm going to get blown up. So, just like with vehicles and getting the right vehicle for the job, it's the same thing with fires and fire extinguishers. There's different types of fires, and for each type of fire, there's a fire extinguisher for it. And so we tend to want to use the type that's recommended for that type of fire, because as we're going to learn, bad things can occur if we don't. Okay, so this morning, the learning objectives, we're going to identify various methods for extinguishing different types of fires. We're going to identify the types of fire extinguishers, and we're going to describe how to extinguish fires given realistic scenarios. If y'all have any questions, y'all can just ask me at any time to stop me. Okay, so some review from last class where we talked about the fire triangle. Y'all should all remember what the fire triangle is. What are the three components of the fire triangle?
Fuel. Oxygen.
Source.
Am I right?
Yeah,
Oh.
fuel's one.
Oxygen. Air.
Right.
Heat.
What's it called? Where it starts?
Spark?
There's a fire triangle there.
Oh, heat was it?
So that's the three components of the fire triangle. Now we understand and know what fire is comprised of and how they start. Now we're going to go into the different types, and then we're going to look at how to put those fires out. Got this video here.
In this tutorial, we will explore the four most common classifications of fire extinguishers. The first and most common type of extinguisher is used for a Class A fire. These are fires fueled by ordinary combustible materials such as paper, wire. Ordinary combustible material.
Okay. What types? Give me some examples of this type of fire. A class. A what?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, let's take this to the lab. So, like in the ag mechanics lab or in the small engine shop, what are some examples of Class A fires? Sawdust catches on fire. Yeah, we got a problem, and that's going to be a Class A fire. Correct.
Your shirt catches fire?
It can be, yes.
Your instructions catch fire on the table.
Right. Trash can catches on fire. Stuff like that.
The box the thing came in.
Right. So if you think about the shop, every shop I've been in our shop, you know, we have Class A type materials laying around, and so it can be likely that a Class A fire can occur. So we try to mitigate that, but you know, it does happen.
Such as paper, wood, cardboard, and most plastics. The Class A fire extinguisher uses water to smother the fire.
Same principle. How do you put out a campfire?
Water on it.
Right, it's a Class A fire, that's how you put it out.
Class B fires are fueled by flammable liquids such as gasoline, kerosene, grease, and oil. To remember this classification of extinguisher, think B for boil.
Okay. Alright, obviously there's a difference between Class A and Class B fires. So, why is there a difference? What is the difference between the material that's burning in a Class A and a Class B?
Combustible.
Class B is not water soluble.
Right, it's more of an oil base. And so, as we're going to see, it causes different
Or oil.
reactions.
Class B extinguishers typically use a liquid foam agent to smother the fire. You would never want to use water on a Class B fire, as the water can cause flammable liquids to spread, like when you accidentally drip water on a frying.
Anybody ever had that? Or has anybody heard about that? Like, if you have a cooking fire, like you're in the kitchen, which it occurs pretty often actually.
You're frying.
Yeah, how do you put it out?
Smother it.
You
Smother it.
take you can smother it, or you can take a wet rag and just lay it over the pan and it'll kind of smother it.
Right.
But you never want to just throw, and sometimes people throw flour, and that's.
Yeah, or baking soda. And it's same sort of thing here. You don't want to use water, but you want to use a powder or foam, or just smother it.
I do.
Go ahead.
That firefighter, is he spraying out foam?
Yes.
That actually happens? Yeah.
Like at the airports, a lot of times those trucks, they don't have water on them. They all have foam. And that's because the types of fires they deal with. I mean,
Jet fuel.
we're gonna go over this later in the lesson, but a lot of your foams and powders will actually put out your Class A fires. So the water is not really necessary. If you can have a powder or a foam, it's usually better because it'll cover more classes of fires. So let's go on to the
Pan, and the grease pops, sending boiling liquid into the air. Class C fires are fueled by electrical current traveling through wires, circuits, and outlets.
Let's back up. Give me some examples of Class B fires that we might have in the shop.
The lawnmower beds.
Yeah, so you're in there, pulling the fuel tank on the lawnmower, and you set it over by the welding machine, and then boom, what happens?
Catch fire.
You have a Class B fire. Give me another example.
Tractor.
Gas leaking on the tractor.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of times we want to clean up spills in the shop, especially in the engine shop, because we got oil on the ground.
Motor oil.
Yeah, exactly.
Sparks.
We can have problems, and there's a lot of stuff in the shop that sparks, and we don't want that. Okay, so you just explained the Class C fire. Give me some examples of Class C fire we might have in the shop.
Computers.
Computer will catch on
Shorts.
fire.
Like a short circuit on something you plug in maybe.
Right. Let's say you plug in that welder and it's not wired properly, and it starts to smoke and melt down. That would be a Class C fire.
Or do you have a wire exposed on an extension cord matrixes?
Right. And that's from my experience. That's all stuff that happens. So that would be your Class C fire. And it says here, like it said in the video, use dry chemicals. So it's a little bit different than a B, where you're using a foam. In C, you're using a dry powder. And it says up there halon gas. Is anybody familiar with halon? Okay, halon is a chemical that it's still used a lot in industry, but they're kind of moving away from it because the EPA is on them, because halon actually is detrimental to the environment. So they're moving away from halon, and we're going to talk about what they're using instead right now. But halon, a lot of times you'll say, well, hey, what type of fire extinguisher is that? Oh, it's a halon. Well, it's a pretty good fire extinguisher, but industry's moving away from that right now.
Class C extinguishers most commonly use a dry chemical powder to smother the fire. In more sensitive environments, such as a recording studio, the Class C extinguisher may use a halon gas that does not leave residue.
Okay. One other thing about Class C fires. So my computer starts smoking, and I grab a fire extinguisher. Well, what's the reason I wouldn't want to use a Class A fire extinguisher on that?
Destroy your
Destroy it out.
computer.
Yeah, you're going to destroy everything if you spray it down with water. So if you use a powder, you're going to put out the fire, and there's a chance you might still be able to, let's say it's a laptop, you still might be able to get that laptop taken apart and pull the memory and stuff out of it, and still retain some of the information. So remember that. I mean, an electric fire, obviously you don't want to put water on it for other reasons. What other reasons?
Shock.
Good shot. Right. Water is conductive, so you open up a whole bunch of can of worms. But another reason is you don't want to put powder in. And likewise, you probably wouldn't want to put a foam on there.
These are often referred to as clean agents. You would also never want to use water on a Class C fire for obvious reasons.
Obvious reasons.
Most household extinguishers are a combination of Class A, B, and C ratings.
So, what is that telling me?
You
They
can
do all three.
Right, you can use them for all three, so they're probably comprised of what?
Carbon dioxide.
see dry chemicals.
Yeah, they're probably a dry chemical type fire extinguisher, or a foam, but mostly probably a dry chemical.
These extinguishers can be used in ordinary combustible fires, liquid fires, and electrical fires. The last of the 4 common classifications of fire is a Class D fire. The Class D fire is fueled by combustible metals such as magnesium, potassium, and sodium.
Has anybody ever seen a metal fire?
But,
They react with the oxygen and catch fire.
Right, how do you put it out?
You put it under oil.
Okay.
Under some kind of, I can't remember what it is. You put it under so it's completely cut off from oxygen.
Yeah, exactly. I have a little experience with these type of fires because in the military you have a lot of incendiary grenades and smoke grenades, and a lot of those are a burning metal, like a white phosphorus or something like that. And they always, when they would give us our safety briefs and whatnot, you know, we would always hear, last thing you want to do is put water on if it gets on your skin, it starts melting through. Last thing you want to do is pour water on it, because the water doesn't do anything.
Like mustard gas.
It's going to make it worse. So they said, you know, the only way to put it out is to smother it. So put your hand in some sand or cover it up with dirt, because the only way to stop it is to cut off the oxygen. These are bad fires, and they burn really hot, and it's bad stuff.
Class D fire extinguishers are used exclusively for Class D fires and use materials such as sand and dry chemical powders to smother the fire.
Okay. That's that. So another fire extinguisher not covered in the video, and it's kind of a newer one, is a Class K. A Class K fire extinguisher, and that is a fire extinguisher you're going to see in the restaurant and food industry, and it's supposed to be specifically designed for oils and fats type fires like grease fires, and it's Class K, and the way the recommended fire extinguisher is a purple K. And does anybody know why they call it purple K? Purple. It's one reason.
Because it's made of potassium.
Right. The symbol for potassium is what?
Okay.
K, right? So it's purple K. It's potassium-based agent in the fire extinguisher, and all that does is it causes, when it's sprayed on the fire, on the grease fire, it causes the grease or fat to create like a froth, and it basically smothers itself. So that's one that I've had a lot of experience with, because in industry, a lot of times they're going to give you a purple K because that's supposed to be top of the line. It puts out pretty much anything. You spray a purple K on it, it's going to put it out. And so that's like one of the more common ones that you're going to see. And so if any of y'all work in the food industry,
Is it food grade? Since you're using it in restaurants and stuff?
is it as far as like spray on your food and eat it?
No, I'm saying, is it like safe to spray in a restaurant and you don't have to
Yeah,
shut it down?
that's what its intended purpose is. It's intended purpose for oils and fats in a restaurant industry. And so
What I'm saying is, if you have an oil or a grease fire on your stove, are you gonna have to shut the whole restaurant down to clean up everything?
if you have a fire in your restaurant, you're going to shut it down.
That's true.
I've been. You got problems if you got a fire. I mean, usually the reason you have a fire is because of other issues. I mean, it's not just you're normally just frying like you always do, and all of a sudden it catches on fire. That's not how it works. It's because you had neglect. You weren't doing proper maintenance. You weren't cleaning. You know, there's other issues involved there, and so most restaurants are going to shut down.
Well, I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is, you know, you got a chef cooking, he slips on something, throws the grease down on the floor, and catches fire, they use that purple K, you know, get it out right away. Are they gonna have to shut the restaurant down and clean all that stuff up?
Oh, like a small little fire?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably
I mean, is this still gonna be bad for you if it's in the same room?
no.
Okay, so.
It's carcinogenic.
A lot of fire extinguishers though will cause it will cause like a burning on your skin and stuff, and it's just you wash it off. I mean, but the thing is, like if you spray that purple K in the kitchen, it's gonna get everywhere. I mean, it's a powder. It's gonna just like baby powder, and it's everywhere now. It goes up in the air and lands on everything. So the whole kitchen's gonna have to be clean before you can put stuff back out. I mean,
So I want to.
I mean, that's the right answer. I don't know. Some places might drive on, whatever. On and about. Okay, so here's the chart in your book. All y'all had textbooks, so here's the chart in your book, and it's basically breaking it down there. Over there in Class B, it's talking about purple K. That's what we talked about earlier. But like we said, it's also in Class K fires as well. That's not on the chart here. That's sort of a new thing. Yeah, that pretty much.
So for metal fires, you can use that purple K?
You could. As far as I know.
What about electrical?
Electrical? Yes. And so over here in the typical fuels involved, this is a lot of stuff that we see in the shop. Except for the Class D fires, all this stuff is what we normally see in the shop. I mean, we got wood, plastics, rubbish. A lot of rubbish laying around, scraps and stuff. You got gasoline, oil, and grease, paint, lighter fluid, engine starter. Kids like to play around with that stuff, and then it gets out of hand, and then what? Then you got a fire in your hand. You probably got a kid that's burning, and then you got a fire in your hand. So, motors in Class C, motors, appliances, wiring, and I've had instances where like we've had equipment burned down, like because of electrical issues, like just the engine just starts cranking and it just burns down in the middle of the night. Don't know why it happened. There was a short, rats in there chewing on the wires and stuff. So this is all stuff that happens normally in industry, and so you need to be aware of it and be aware of the different types. It's not just, oh, there's a fire, spray water on it, because that's the misconception here.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I want to say there might be another kind of extinguisher in like computer server rooms. There's this gas that they do it and it makes them called oxygen.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that?
That's not something I'm familiar with, but that's not something we're ever going to see in the shop. I mean, we're going to be using fire extinguishers. There's not a lot of fire extinguishers that are, a lot of shops are going to be outfitted with real high tech, because it's just not, it's not economically viable. I mean, it's just that you grab your Class C fire extinguisher and put it out. So, we're going to move on now. Bam. We talked a little bit earlier about grease fires and how you want to control grease fires. And I'm going to show you this little short video. The guy's doing a demonstration on a grease fire. To give you a little background here, he's got his little Weber grill or something over here, his gas grill going, and he set him up a little grease fire here to do a demonstration. So the grease is on fire on the grill.
Make sure it's on movie mode.
It is.
Yeah.
It says recording.
It does? You don't need to hear what he's saying because he's an idiot. But he's doing a nice little demonstration on what not to do. So he's over there grabbing the grease, the pan or pot of grease that's going. He sets it on the ground. Okay, notice he's got a little wall barrier here because he doesn't want to be next to it. Because he's doing a demonstration. He knows what he's about to do. He's about to pour water on grease, on a burning grease. So there's a little cup of water on a pole. Bam! That's just from pouring water on grease. I mean, look at that stuff going. it's popping and cracking and it's spraying everywhere.
It says the grease past the flashpoint and you serve it with oil.
So, yeah, that's what happens if you have a grease fire and you pour water on it. So, yeah, that's bad news right there.
I saw something about that on Oprah one day. This woman, she got her face all tore up because the grease, that she did the same thing. And
It happens
it
more often
destroyed
than
her
you
face.
think. I mean, if you talk to some firefighters and stuff, people are not very educated on the different types of fires. And that's one thing, that's a skill you need to learn, and it's not something you just need to apply to this class, you apply to the rest of your life. I mean, that's something, hey, you see a kid, when you're older and you see a kid doing something that he shouldn't be doing, or hey, there's a fire, you know, he's frying a turkey and it lights on fire, and he's like, oh, let me go get the water hose. You need to stop him right there, that's a bad idea. He's about to be in a world of hurt.
What do you do if you're frying a turkey and it's like
Purple K?
You need to use the proper fire extinguisher, or you need to smother it. I mean, that's your options. Water is not an option, as we've seen here. I mean, that was just a little bit of grease. What if that was, you know, a 10-gallon fryer there, or 5-gallon?
I'll take commercial. It says that like most house fires happen during Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I've seen that too. It's like, I'm telling you.
the next week when I'm turkey.
Right.
So your best bet is for Class C always.
It's to use it, use a fire extinguisher that's rated for multiple classes.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see a lot of times a Class A fire extinguisher. I mean, and it's basically just compressed water. It's a can full of water that's compressed. It's cheap, but it's not going to help you in a lot of these other situations. This one's supposed to work. It didn't. So we're going to go back. We're going to escape out of here. We're going to look at this, a magnesium fire. Has anybody seen metal burn?
Nope.
Okay, yeah, because a lot of people, I wouldn't think, have
It
seen
turns colors, like copper's always.
Oh wait, yeah, I have seen that.
That's how fireworks are done, aren't they? Aren't they kind of metal?
Yeah, usually they have some sort of powder. Yeah.
Like green fireworks with copper.
Copper turns like green and purple and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of man, just another story about metal burning, which, you know, I thought I heard it all, but on my last trip to Afghanistan, you had to go to these safety briefs when you go in the country because the bad guys are always changing what they're doing. They're coming up with new stuff every day, and they're creative, a lot more creative than we give them credit for. So we're sitting in this brief, and they're talking about, hey, this is the new TTPs, the tactics that they're using. So they get spray paint, silver-colored spray paint, and they spray it on like a piece of paper or a piece of metal, and they just spray the whole can on it, and then they let it dry, and then they break it off, the paint off the thing, and make it a powder. And in that spray paint, there's a little bit of aluminum, and so basically they have like aluminum powder. And if you mix that with ammonium nitrate and stuff like that, it causes a big boom. And so that was one of the things that they were doing, because we were trying to limit the amount of fertilizers they had, because that's what they build bombs out of. So now they were using aluminum powder, and aluminum, I guess, supposedly burns up real big in a powder form. So that's just something to keep in mind. A lot of the metals are fine in one state, but when you change the state, they become like crazy combustible. So something to just keep in mind. Here's a magnesium fire. Don't know how they started it, but that's what it is. It's magnesium.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
he spraying on that water?
He's spraying a fire extinguisher. So he's probably spraying.
That's a water one.
It's probably water. A lot of times the silver ones are water. So Class A fire extinguisher, but he could be spraying anything. It's B or C. It ain't gonna do anything because it's a
Class D.
Class D fire. He's over there and he's like, well, that didn't work.
That didn't work.
Yeah, this expensive fire extinguisher I've been lugging around ain't worth anything
I
on
don't
this
have a
fire.
face.
Isn't that what happened at in West?
It was a fertilizer.
West was
but
fertilizer.
weren't they doing it wrong? They were actually feeding the fire instead of putting it out.
I don't know.
I think that's what I heard.
So could you do what fire extinguisher would you use on like the fertilizer?
Fertilizer is a what?
Oh, chemical.
Okay. So you're gonna use a
C.
That's probably what I would use.
Oh.
But then again, you also gotta keep in mind, you have a fertilizer plant on fire, which is full of ammonium nitrate, which is a well, let's just put it this way: it's highly explosive, and it's relatively volatile. So let's say if I see a fire and it's beyond saving, your best bet is just to move away from that situation because it's gonna burn in place. I mean, you're not stopping it, and by getting close trying to fight it, yeah, and that's where your education comes in. I mean, is it worth me going in there and risking my life on this fire that I know I probably can't beat with the equipment that I got, or should I just back off and just tell everybody to get away and let this thing burn? You see a lot of times, you see in Houston, they burn down tire factories, or not factories, but like recycling plants. They light on fire all the time. And what do the firefighters usually do? Let that joker burn. It ain't worth risking nobody's life to get in there and fight a fire that is gonna. Tires burn good. They burn real good, and they're not very easy to put out. I've actually never put one out. I've burned a lot of tires, but I've never put one out. And if you've seen a tire burn before, it's gonna be a little bit of task in hand to put that joker out.
Yeah,
So
they were all volunteer fires.
right, and so that kind of goes in that situation. I don't know all the details about that, but that's something you got to keep in the back of your mind. What is in there burning? Is it the wooden structure, the outhouse next to the fertilizer plant, or is it the fertilizer plant itself, which is full of ammonium nitrate and all sorts of other chemicals? You know, am I going to put that joker out with my truck that has 500 gallons of water?
What I heard was an electrical fire, and they made it worse by spraying water on it, and it spread into the holding tank. That's what it was.
That could possibly be. I don't know enough about it, but I mean, there's a perfect example of, you know, understand the type of fire and then match it with the proper way to put it out. Whether it's extinguisher, smothering, you know, whatever. A lot of times, a lot of these other stuff, these other things, water's not the right answer. It's actually just gonna make it worse. You saw there. I mean, so now what's he doing?
Smothering it.
Yeah, he's got a bucket, 5-gallon bucket full of sand, and he's just pouring it on it.
So what would you call when they set off bombs to put out fires?
Set off a bomb.
Yeah, they like set off
Yeah.
a big old explosion to use up all the oxygen.
Yeah, you're using up all the oxygen in the air to put out the fire. I mean,
Is that a topic class, or is that just?
no, that's not a fire extinguisher class. That's beyond fire extinguishers. And that's not something you're gonna run into ordinarily in your everyday life. I mean, what we're covering here is something you're gonna see in the ag mechanic shop or in your everyday life. If you're involved in something like that, you're gonna get probably years of training to understand what you're doing, and it goes far beyond that. So he's putting it out with sand. Yeah, it's just pouring it on there, bam, and there it goes, done.
If that was a demonstration, I wonder how he got the short end of the stick to spray water on it.
I think he was, yeah.
It's like, hey, go spray that water.
Yeah, not the best.
Yeah, we have those types of extinguishers on hand, around there.
What type of fire extinguisher
The
is it?
silver ones.
Yeah, what class?
Class A.
It's probably the class A. And why is that?
You know, the only thing will burn is your hand here. You get a bearing which is really hot and like you.
Right. So it's usually class A type combustible material. So and then again, those are the cheapest type of fire extinguishers. A lot of times you can refill those or have them refilled. A lot of these other ones you gotta send off or they're non-refillable. You just can't refill them.
Yeah, ours you just twist it off, fill it up with water, and then you get a air compressor.
Right. Those are good ones to have. Okay. Now we're going to look at some case studies. I was doing a bunch of research the other night, and I came up with found these great stories on the interweb, and so there's two different stories. So I want y'all to divide into two groups somehow. Then y'all have one, and y'all have, okay. Y'all are gonna be doing.
Are they front back?
Yes, you're gonna be doing one. So I want you with your partner to do. Y'all are doing one. Y'all are doing. So take a look at those, read over them, discuss amongst yourself, and then answer the question.
Should put down a cigarette and grease fire, so you're gonna smother it. And you're gonna want to use and could have not updated his Facebook status.
Y'all guys know that? Okay. Everybody done?
Yeah.
Okay. I want y'all to get up and just sit in place as a small group. Just kind of explain, because they don't know, they didn't read the scenario. Explain what happened in the scenario, and then explain the answers to the questions.
Okay, there's Bill. He's employed at a local fast food restaurant. And,
Pay attention. He's going to explain it to you. You don't have to read it. Just summarize it real quick.
And then he hires Billy, a high school student who's trained.
No, Bill hired Tom.
He hires Tom.
Yeah.
Tom is a high school student, doesn't have any experience in the kitchen, and Bill gives him like a crash course on what to do, like this is how you do things, and then Bill's over in the corner checking his Facebook status. Football team comes in, so kitchen slam, Tom fires up the fryer to like maximum capacity, Bill's in the corner smoking his cigarette.
He's a high school kid?
Yep, Tom's a high school kid,
Okay.
no experience. Bill's his manager, gives him smoking a cigarette. Gave him a crash course on what to do in the kitchen. Smoking a cigarette, kitchen gets slammed, and he's got the fryer on full capacity, and then a small grease fire happens and so Bill thought that he trained Tom correctly, so Tom, going back to his training, goes to get his fire extinguisher, sprays it on the grease fire, it was water. He didn't tell him what type of fire extinguisher goes with what fire, so he sprays water on this grease fire. And Bill comes in, because he hears everything, and that's where it ends.
Okay, so the question's there.
Oh, it's a-
What would Bill? Because Bill comes in and he's like, "Oh man, this is bad."
What's going on?
Yeah. So now, what should Bill do in this situation? Should. Right. But then, what should he do to extinguish the fire?
Smother it.
Right. He should find some.
Or get the right type of fire.
Right.
Purple K it.
You should get a Class C or Purple K, or Class B or Purple K type fire extinguisher, or try to smother that fire. What does it say?
What type of extinguisher?
And what could have prevented this incident?
Proper treatment.
Right. A lot of times it comes back to proper training. Tom didn't know. Bill probably knew what the right answer was at the time, but he was outside, not supervising, not doing his job. And then Tom didn't get the proper training. He comes in there and he doesn't know. So the things that could have been done to mitigate this problem here would be proper training, proper supervision, and knowing what you're dealing with. If I'm in a kitchen or if I'm in an ag mechanic shop dealing with engines, I need to know that oil and gas fires are different than a wood fire. I need to understand that. So if I work around grease every day, I need to know how to put that stuff out, and I need to know, you know, besides just the other stuff of how to use operate the equipment and stuff like that. So good job. Same thing. Summarize it and.
Our guy was Bobby Jack. He just graduated from high school. He went into his family business of dirt construction. They just got a contract with an oil company, and they had to dig in well sites. He has to meet the deadline by July, so he has 1 month, and he's like pushing it. And so at the end, he's pushing his equipment to the limit, and then he takes off like the covers to the engine so that they can breathe better. And whenever he was loading a truck, one of the hydraulic hoses started to leak, and so then a fire started.
Okay, what should he do next?
Shut down the tractor.
Right.
Try to contain.
Because once you turn off the engine, it's going to stop the hydraulic pump, which is going to stop the flow of hydraulic fluid, which is what's on fire. You know, it's flammable. So, what should he do from there?
Get a fire extinguisher at Class B. It's kind of fuel on it, or
Right.
oil-based on it.
Right, or a
Purple K.
right purple can. That will work in that situation. What is the other question? Yeah, there's a lot of things in that little scenario that led up to this incident, and what were the things?
Well, he didn't have maintenance on his equipment.
Right, he was neglecting his routine maintenance, and then also
Working his stuff too hard.
right, and he probably should have had, you know, fire equipment and stuff. It's important, especially when you're on a job site, which a lot of you might find yourselves in a couple of years or next week. You're on a job site. You can't just run to the kitchen and go get baking soda or you know, run down to Walmart and pick up a fire extinguisher. I mean, you're out there, you're on the job site, and you're on a $150,000, $200,000 piece of equipment, and that door catches on fire. Now what? Let it burn, because you ain't got no way to put it out. And this happens. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen. We've had equipment burned down, and it's a lot of times it's due to neglect and lack of maintenance. But it's something you're going to see a lot, and it happens more frequently than you think. And it's a bad day when you're not carrying insurance on it. That happens a lot. So good job on the case study there. And guess what I got for you?
Right there.
We're going to look at
Construction equipment.
an excavator burning down. Bam, he's loading the truck. Having a good old time. Notice what's here?
The engine, like, put in this.
Yeah, his doors are open because his engine's overheating, right? And so he didn't do maintenance. He didn't blow out the radiator. You know, he's not cleaning his equipment properly. So he's like, man, I gotta make it to the end of the day. It's 4:30. I gotta make it till 5. He's gonna pop the compartments. You know, take it easy on her, and she'll make it, right? Woo! Bam. Hydraulic hoses run at how many PSI?
25,000.
I don't think they're quite that high, but they're pressurized more than let's say when your tire blows, you know it blows. This thing is pressurized probably 10, 20 times that, so or more. So it's pushing some fluid through there, and it's got a reservoir. That machine there, it's a 320B. It's probably got a 50 to 75 gallon hydraulic fluid reservoir. Yeah, he's in there. You haven't seen him get out, have you?
No, there you go.
Oh, Oh,
He's-
the compartment's over there.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's calm, he's walking away from it.
I thought that was the little sticky up thing.
But at this point, what can he do?
No.
Call his boss.
Unless he's got the proper fire extinguisher on site, and it's big enough to control that fire, because if you have a purple K the size of this, you throw it at it, and it ain't gonna do nothing. That's pretty much it. I mean, he's gonna let that joker probably burn down, because there ain't nothing you can do.
What size is it? 3200?
A 320B, that's an older model. Now they're already on the E, so that's B, they have C, D, and now E. It's an excavator fire there. And I'm telling you, this happens more frequently than you would think. Man, what happened here?
Is that a wood chipper?
That's not a wood chip. What is it?
Round baler.
It's a round baler, and it's a relatively new round baler. Heck, that joker looks brand new.
Those are expensive.
It looked brand new. I have one just like this at the house. It's a 605 Super M, and
505.
yeah, it's 5x6. A lot of times you're gonna see a big silver fire extinguisher here on the side there. This one I guess didn't come equipped, or a lot of times the other thing people like to do, take it off. It's in the way. I don't like it, you know. So luckily he got disconnected from it. But what happens with balers when they burn? And this is something that happens all the time.
They'll burn for days. See, there's a bail now.
Yeah, well, what causes it?
Oh, bearings go out.
The bearings go out, or
Don't lubricate it.
not proper maintenance. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10,
Any bail to drink?
but
The hazing one.
it can, that can cause it. But a lot of times when it burns up in the baler, if it's still connected to the tractor, is they're rolling through a field and they're bailing it up, and the bearings are hot. They're gonna get hot whether you lubricate them or not. He gets to the end and he's got half a bale in there, and he's like, well, I'm about to bail this other field tomorrow, so I'm just gonna leave it in there. Well, that joker, you have dry grass sitting right next to a warm bearing. What's gonna happen? It's gonna light on fire, and at this point, you're not doing anything to that. I mean, the baler's trash. It's total, and you're out a $35,000 baler. Bam. And if you don't have insurance, it's an extra fun time. So, name the different classes of fires. What did we go over today? Okay, A is
Combustible material, paper, wood,
B.
yeah.
B is what?
Old base.
Yeah. C.
Electronic.
D.
metal.
Metal, right. And then you have K. It's a Class K fire, and it's a purple K fire extinguisher. What are some methods of controlling a grease fire? We talked about this in detail.
Purple K.
Smother and purple K. What type of extinguisher will control a Class A fire?
All of them.
Pretty much all of them. A Class D extinguisher is they said in there it's sand. Will that control a Class A fire?
Well, if it's smothered though.
Right, you're gonna smother it, so yeah, it actually will control Class A fire. Okay, these are reviewing the objectives. Today we identified the various methods of extinguishing different types of fires, identified the types of fire extinguishers, and we described how to extinguish fires given realistic scenarios. Tomorrow, exciting, tomorrow, we're gonna go over how to use the fire extinguisher. PASS, anybody heard of PASS? PASS? Well, you're gonna learn about it tomorrow, bam. And then, we're gonna do a fire extinguisher demonstration. We're gonna light a fire, and we're going to put it out with a fire extinguisher. How many people have ever used a fire extinguisher? Okay, so a lot of you haven't. So we're going to
point, aim, side, side.
Point,
At the
aim,
base of the
point,
blade.
aim,
Side. Sweep, side, side.
sweep.
South.
Suffocate.
You're going to learn about it tomorrow. Let's just leave it at that.
I'll go to fire.
All right. That's it.